Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am really excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And just fair warning, as you probably already saw, this video is almost 40 minutes long, okay? If you stick through to the end, you are the real MVP. And I'll also actually emphasize how much that actually helps YouTubers, by the way. It significantly helps if you actually watch like an entire video, but this one's really long. So if you don't, I am not going to hold it against you. However, it might be worth it because I think that this house came out so nicely, which is why I'm so excited about it, okay? I'm just really proud of it. It is for me, a huge craftsman style home, and I love the color scheme I went with. I used a lot of like white accents, really stark contrast with the white windows and the blue details. I use like the really deep blue siding that we got with this pack, the pack being Growing Together, if you are wondering. And I was using a reference image for this build as well because I really struggle with a craftsman style home on a good day, and I knew if I was trying to build something a lot bigger, it was going to be a significant challenge for me. So I did use a reference image, and I pretty much made the front of the home near identical to the photo. Now, of course, I did have to figure out the back, which was a whole different story. That was really difficult for me to do, which is why it took me so long to figure out this build. I think a majority of the time spent was actually the exterior and the yard, because even though this house is huge, it did not fill this lot. Not even close. I believe this is a 50 by 40. This is what, Roble Point or whatever the lot name is. I'm not really sure. I did have to bulldoze one of the existing lots here, so don't come for me. It had to happen at some point. I felt bad doing it, but I did it because this lot is beautiful, and I thought it would be the perfect spot to build a big generations craftsman style home. So this is for like 3 generations of Sims. We have a room for the grandparents. We have a few kids rooms. Well, actually a kid room and a nursery because there are 4 children. Well, it's like 2 kids and maybe 2 infants is what I was thinking because I didn't have like a bassinet or anything for the baby objects. And then there's the parents' room. There's also a garage. There is a family room and a living room. Now for me, the difference between those two, the living room was like the formal sitting area. Now, this often didn't have a TV from what my understanding was, but then there was the family room, which was kind of like a quasi playroom / TV room, stuff like that. So that's kind of the approach that I took with it, but I really loved it. There's this huge like open concept ish. There's some archways, but open concept living room. I have to keep reminding myself, kitchen and dining, and then it looks out onto this onto the backyard with this big the door from the what's it called, the industrial loft kit. So it's not really like a sliding door, but it's like a glass door and it remains permanently open. You can't close it, but I thought it was so pretty. And look at the color scheme. Like, I thought this was so nice. I was just really proud of it because I really wanted to use the blue siding again, because I did use it in a build that I haven't posted yet, but it's like a little starter home with base game and Growing Together. But I used it in, I think, a much more modern sense because I paired it with the other side. Well, actually, no, the same siding, but in like this orange tone. Like it had a more modern flair to it, whereas this one, to me, is more of like a traditional craftsman style home. But you can see that we were starting to work on the landscaping because I did sort out the shape. I really love the shape of this home. And I did use this debug fence as well as these shrubs from the debug menu from Get Together, because this fence is actually something that you can see in some of the other neighborhoods. Like not on lots, but just in the neighborhoods. So I thought it was kind of a nice compliment to the world itself. And I didn't bring it around the entire build. I did end up using a white fence from base game as well to kind of section off the area of the backyard / side yard, because we kind of have a little bit of both. Where there were actually activities for your Sims to indulge in. But I really liked the landscaping for this too. I tried to keep it somewhat simplistic. I used these shrubs again from the Get Together debug menu. That is just the elite debug menu for landscaping for me. Like, I'm sorry, you can disagree with me. That's totally cool, but I love love the items from the Get Together debug menu. They are so good for landscaping. But I did use these shrubs, and I pretty much used them around a majority of the side yard and the backyard, as well as these trees. And then I just paired them with, I want to say, the hydrangeas, which are one of my favorite plants to use in landscaping, apparently. This little low-lying bush, and then some of these like little yellow flowered shrubs initially. But then I also used, I want to say it looks like a lavender bush, but I've got it in kind of this orangey golden color, which I thought was really pretty. I mean, it doesn't necessarily complement the colors of the build. I think the yellow flowers do a little bit more of that than the gold, but maybe it kind of sort of complements the roof color, which I wanted to pop against the really dark blue siding. You see how much thought I put into this? Like, this is why I'm so indecisive. If you're wondering, this is why I can be so indecisive when I'm working on a build and why things can take me so long. But I wanted to at least sort out the general shape of the lot because I really struggle with yard spaces. I don't know how to divvy up functional space with, you know, maybe the stone that I have here, and also just yard space where it's just purely grass and shrubbery and things like that. I don't know how to make it look natural. So I really did struggle with the side yard and the backyard, but I knew if I got at least the shape and I got things kind of sectioned off, I would be able to figure it out eventually. So that is what I did first. And I also want to point out, I have not used this brick for the pathway from the Country Kitchen Kit, mind you. I don't know why that always surprises me when I pick it out, but it is from the Country Kitchen Kit, and I really, really like it. I just don't get to use it that often because I think a lot of the swatches aren't super complementary for the color schemes that I typically go for, but this one is kind of like a blue, green, gray swatch, and I thought it complemented the siding and everything just enough that it worked here. So I was really proud to use that. I don't know why. That shouldn't be a big deal, but I was really proud to be able to use that. And I also did make a faux garage, of course, because you kind of can't make real garages. We don't have cars. But I made a faux garage using that medium height door from Snowy Escape. Now, I think you probably saw me very briefly using the tool mod to lower it down so it looks as though it is actually flush with the driveway. However, I didn't have to use like any platforms or anything. It does show on the interior of the garage. It looks a little bit wonky, but I'm okay with it. If you don't like it, you can always get rid of it. But I didn't feel like trying to, cover it up with a different kind of garage door. For example, the ones from City Living that are actually murals. I didn't feel like doing that. I didn't think it looked as good. But now we are on to the interior. So on this first floor, we do have the family room, the living room. We have a laundry room with a half bath. We have a mud room, we have the grandparents' room, and then a full bathroom that's off of their bedroom, but there's also access from the front hallway as well, because I'm thinking that when maybe the parents purchased this home, the grandparents came to live with them a little bit later, so the room that is actually their bedroom wasn't intended to be a bedroom. I think it was intended maybe to be like a home library or like an office space, but they turned it into a bedroom, and therefore there are two entry points to the bathroom that they use. That's my logic, because you probably wouldn't have an ensuite bathroom with an entrance from not only the bedroom itself, but also a hallway. Does that make sense? Anyway, we are working on the living room. Yes, the living room first. And let me just tell you how obsessed I am with this color scheme. I wanted to use the very light green, like pale green swatch of this fireplace, and I wanted to use these couches from the Growing Together pack because I have been using the other ones so much, and I told myself, I'm like, okay, you need to make this one, this big home, make it a mix of like modern and contemporary, but also make it cozy. See if you can do it with the new couches and the armchairs, and I am so thrilled. I actually love this swatch of the couch. I really love the matching swatch of I can't really call them armchairs, they don't have arms, but I used a base game paneling wallpaper thing here, and it complemented everything so well. I was literally squealing to myself as I was doing it. I remember I like called over my husband. I'm like, look. I'm like, look at this color scheme I was able to pull out of nowhere. And of course, because The Sims doesn't excite him that much. He doesn't play The Sims, but he was like, yeah, it looks great. I'm like, I need more excitement from you, sir. Like, this is amazing, okay? I'm really, really proud of this. But I thought it was so cool, because what I typically do is if I use a very strong color on an exterior of a build, And we have this really dark blue front door. I tend to kind of try to match that, but I pushed myself to not do that this time, and I was really happy with the result. I was also happy I was able to use these bookshelves from the high school years pack on each side of the fireplace because they fit perfectly, and the swatch of kind of like the pale cream color matched really nicely with everything else I had here. I was just all around thrilled. I thought it was just enough of a contemporary look, but also felt really cozy and welcoming and warm. And I tried to pull this through to the dining room / kitchen as well, which we are now working on. I did create a bit of a galley kitchen with a bigger island in the middle, which I loved doing so much. And actually, this made me think of it, and I realized I hadn't finished this build yet. I'm not one to just leave builds unfinished. Let me tell you that. I have to finish them. I have to. I cannot start another one until I am done with one, okay? So I have a huge build in Brindleton Bay that I'm working on. I think it's on a 64 by 64 or it's a 50 by 40. It's one of the bigger lots. It could be this size for all I know, but it is a huge like Dutch colonial mansion that I completely forgot about until I was working on this build. And the reason why it reminded me of it is because I pretty much did this exact layout for like the kitchen, dining, and then the family room / living room because it called for it. I had so much space, I didn't know what to do. And as I was doing this, I was like, oh, right, I have that other build to finish too. Oh, I'll get to it eventually. I don't know. So it was kind of nice to remind myself that I actually do have another huge build that I can maybe finish soon. I don't know. I can't wait to share it with you guys whenever I do finish it. But as you can see, I used these chairs from Base Game that I've never used before in my entire life. I was so thrilled to be using them here because, again, they gave the build that kind of contemporary look, but it still looked really cozy because I used a lot of like these warm gold colors as well to kind of complement everything. I used, of course, the new fridge, the bar stools, and the oven, stove, and hood as well from the new pack. And then I realized that we had these, I think they're technically in debug or like unlocks or something. I'm not sure because I have better build by, so like everything's unlocked for me. But we have these little kid drawings and the little kid artwork pieces. So I put them on the side of the fridge. I thought it was so freaking cute. I was so proud that I like remembered to do this or thought to do this, because typically what I do is I use the sticky notes from Parenthood to do that, but I don't typically put drawings. I don't know why I can't say that word all of a sudden. On the side of the fridge. So I thought it was perfect because there are 2 kids in this build. However, a lot of the kid stuff is up in their rooms because this house is so big, and then we also have the family room. So the logic in my head was they can reserve like all the toys and things like that to the family room and keep, you know, the kitchen, dining, and the living room pretty child toy free, if you will. I also got to use these counters and cabinets from Dream Home Decorator because they were perfect for the look I was going for. And now I'm just cluttering up the kitchen ever so slightly. There's plenty of counter space if you wanted your Sims to do the cook together function. They might be a little bit spread out, but they can do it because the island itself is accessible. And then there is one countertop, I believe, on the other side of the kitchen that we just saw. And then I also just added a few more details over here. I included a microwave, and I didn't give them a dishwasher. Why am I like this? I just realized this. I did not give this family a dishwasher. This house, with the size that it is, would definitely have a dishwasher, so please add it if you would like one, because I forget all the time. Why do I do this to myself? I always forget a dishwasher. Why is that the thing I forget? I'll remember a microwave, but not a dishwasher. I don't understand myself sometimes, but this is going to be the entryway. Now, at first, I almost put a console table and a mirror over here. Actually, I did for a short, brief period of time. And then I realized that I didn't put an archway to the family room, which means that you couldn't access it. So don't you worry, I remedied that very, very quickly. But I did put the console table over here right near the entrance to that bathroom I mentioned earlier, as well as the bottom of the stairs. I just put a few clutter items on there. Nothing major, nothing extravagant. I had an armchair over here underneath the mirror, as well as a few pairs of shoes, and then realized like, oh, right, we can't access the family room. I even put a lot of the picture frames as well, but I didn't realize it until after I started on the little laundry room / half bathroom. So there is laundry in this build. If you do not want it, simply remove it. You could make this into a full bathroom, which would be great. Now, then you just have to get rid of all the hampers in the bedrooms that I ended up adding, because I actually remembered to do that for a majority of the bedrooms, if not all of them. I was quite proud of myself. I always forget that. I'll add like a washer and dryer, but I'll completely forget about the hampers, maybe in like all the bathrooms or all the bedrooms, which makes things very convenient. But I did like this laundry room. I was happy to be able to actually have one in this build because I haven't been able to squeeze one in a build using this new pack specifically for some time. So I was really excited about that, and it made sense because it was right off the mudroom as well, which made all of the sense to me. And now that I think about it, you know what? I'm going to give myself just a little pat on the back because I am proud, because I put the mudroom between the garage and the laundry room, which makes perfect sense to me. Now, I did just give it wood flooring, so it's not much of a mudroom. You might have a different flooring for a mudroom, but it's okay. It's fine. We just pretend we don't see it. Now, this is going to be the family room, and I did struggle with the layout in this room. I really did, because I didn't really know how to set it up. I didn't want it to look super formal, but I wanted it to be cozy and have a lot of activities. So I did put a couch over in that, not quite a bay window, but we'll just call it that for now, I guess. And I wanted to use the toy chest. I've got a little play mat for the infants because I, again, imagined 2 infants in this build. So at least one of them can use the play mat. Then there's also the little tent from Dream Home Decorator for the kids. There's a creativity table. And I think I added a few different toys as well, at least the toy chest, so they do have toys to access and play with. I added this little tiny coffee table from high school years, had to think about it again. And I don't know how I almost let this opportunity pass, but I didn't remember to use a standing piano until a little bit later in this build even, I think. I don't know why I put a bookcase there. I ended up putting the standing piano where the bookcase is because it made a lot of sense. And I thought that was perfect. Like, I don't know why I did this. This is even big enough to put a grand piano, and I couldn't even remember to put the new standing piano that I've been pining after for years. Make it make sense to me because sometimes I don't understand some of the decisions that I make. But I also put that portable little, well, not playpen, but the portable crib as well down here, just in case one of the infants was getting a little fussy. You wouldn't have to take them all the way upstairs to their bedroom or their nursery to be able to give them a little bit of a nap. So you could just put them in the playpen that's down here. I thought that was kind of a nice addition, at least a nice thought. And then this is going to be the grandparents' room, which I really liked. It's very plainly decorated, but I thought that it had a lot of character to it still, and it matched really nicely to the rest of the build. So I did use this bed from Cats and Dogs, which I adore and I haven't used in a long time. I gave one of the grandparents, or both maybe they both use it. Who am I to judge? Maybe they both use the vanity, but I love the vanity and I don't get to use it very often either. So I did use that here, and I love this one because it looks a little bit older, it looks a little worn, and it matches the color scheme really nicely of this build, I think. I also added a rocking chair, and then there's just that little candle from one of those kits. I don't remember which one. Maybe it was the Pastel Pop kit, maybe it was the Everyday Clutter. Can't recall, doesn't matter. It's fixed, by the way. Did you know that? It's fixed. It actually has a little like flame now because it didn't before. So when you actually go ahead and load up this build, it will work. I think it happened after I filmed this build, but they did update that, and I was so happy about it. As I mentioned, there are 2 hampers here, so your clothes will collect successfully. And then I added 2 of these little knitting baskets. Stereotypically, I think one of the grandparents does indeed knit. Maybe they've knit a bunch of like onesies and clothes for the little infants as well, which I thought was a nice idea. And then they do just have this one single dresser as well, because maybe the parents, I don't know which one is the child of the grandparents, by the way, but maybe the grandparents kind of grew up or raised their child in a much smaller home, much more of an affordable home. And now that their child has clearly been successful doing something, I mean, this is a really big home to be able to afford. Maybe their child and their spouse do something that gives them a very solid income so they can afford this big house, and they insisted that the grandparents move in with them. And when they moved, they really didn't have too much to move with them because their house was so small, which is maybe why they just have like the one dresser and everything is kind of scarcely decorated. But this is also their bathroom mainly. I mean, it is accessible, of course, to guests because it is on the first floor and there's 2 entry points, but it's mainly their bathroom. And I was finally able to use the little glass that The swatches are different. It's from the bathroom clutter kit, but it either has dentures or a retainer, which I think is so clever and so cute. But I was able to use the dentures one finally because it was meant for grandparents. And now this is going to be the mud room, which again isn't much of a mud room, but that's what I'm going to call it. There's a few picture frames. We do have the little tiny coat closet there. And then when you walk through from the porch off the mud room, there is to the right the garage, and then the left is where the laundry room is. And the side porch actually is great because it does give access to the kind of like playground that I build outside, as well as like the sprinkler and some other activities. So the mudroom actually makes sense to me. But in the garage, I did put a few different activities as well. I want to say the flower arranging table and the woodworking bench, because I was thinking that the grandparents primarily used those things. Maybe they didn't really have the space to do those things in their smaller home until they moved here, but they are in the garage, so I don't know, do with that what you will. I also added a few of these storage boxes just for show, and some of these suitcases that we got with Growing Together, just to kind of, I don't know, just add some clutter, as well as this shelf from Eco Lifestyle, which I thought was nice. I just try to make garages look kind of full and used. I mean, I want them to also be useful. I don't want it all to be for show, but yeah, I added a few activities there, and this is when I remembered to add the standing piano to this room. So I did just that. I just shuffled some things over and added a few clutter items on top just to make it look decorated and nice, because that wall was looking a little bit barren even with the piano there. And then I just go back to the garage and add a few more things, such as, I want to say I stacked in air quotes, some of the outdoor like folding chairs. Yeah, from Outdoor Retreat. I just use the Control 9 keys to raise one of them up and make them look like they're stacked. I mean, you would have to go ahead and pull them into your Sims inventory and place them in the world if you wanted to use them, but I like to use them for show like that as well. And now we are moving on to the upstairs, which is where the parents' bedroom is, the kids, and the nursery, as well as 3 more bathrooms. This house technically is 4.5 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms. And the reason for that is because I struggled to really flesh out more bedrooms. And considering it was a generations family home and you can only fit 8 Sims in a household, it worked perfectly because this is for 8 Sims. But if you wanted to finagle the floor plan a bit and add another bedroom, I'm sure you could find a way to do it. Like I said, you could probably actually make, if you wanted that family room to go away, like if you didn't want it, you could make it an office, you could make it a really big bedroom. It's whatever the heck you want to do with it. I have been saying this more and more often. If you download my build, you can do whatever the heck you want with it. Like you can get rid of everything, you completely gut it, you can redo it, whatever the case is. I don't care. It's your game. You have to make it fit your game and your playstyle and your Sims. That's what it's all about. But this is the parents' room. It is very plainly decorated as well. But I love that bed from Seasons so much. I probably overuse it, but I thought it was nice because it kind of matched the swatch of the rug that I chose, and it complemented the wallpaper that I used as well, pretty much throughout the entire build. And I just cluttered up the dresser a bit, but I was also able to add that closet. That wasn't part of my original plan, but I thought it was a nice addition, and it made the room kind of a different shape than I was intending. It doesn't just look like this big long room now. There's a little bit of a, I don't know, there's the bump out because it's basically a closet. But I did clutter up the dresser, and then I ended up working on the bathroom. So the parents also have an ensuite, which I thought was really nice. I don't think I show every single bathroom being furnished, but I figured I would show this one just because it's slightly different from the grandparents' bathroom downstairs. But they do have a shower tub combo, of course, everything they need to go to the bathroom and be hygienic. But I thought it was nice that they have their own ensuite as well. And then the kids basically have their own bathroom. And then there's a bathroom off of the nursery, which is uber convenient. So everybody gets their own bathroom, which is also really nice. The parents don't have to share with the kids because kids are very messy. But this is going to be the nursery, which I really liked. I've been gravitating towards these really like pastel blues and golds and greens for nurseries lately. I don't know what it is. I just really, really like it. I've got to come up with another color scheme soon, but I thought this one was really, really sweet, and I loved using the Space Game wallpaper, and this rug, which I think is also Base Game actually. It's just beautiful. I really love the swatches. I did size it up a little tiny bit for the purposes of filling the space in this room, but there are the 2 cribs. We've got the changing table and the diaper pail, and then I was just trying to figure out decorations for the rest of this room because it was really difficult for me for some reason, and that's when I discovered those little string lights that I believe came with Growing Together, which I didn't even know about until I did this build. And I thought it was so cute to put in the window. We've got that little shelf over the changing table. And then those little bookshelves, because they're not functional bookshelves, that we also got with base game, I lowered them to the ground. I did this in another build because that's how they're meant to sit. They're meant so your little infants can go grab a book and look at it themselves. They're not meant to be up that high on the wall, which I didn't understand. So I did use the dual mod to lower it, but I did add a functional bookcase as well. And then I just added a bunch of picture frames. I used a ton of them throughout this build because it's Generations Home. I'm thinking that every single frame is just filled with like kids' photos throughout the years, the grandparents meeting their grandbabies for the first time, just all that stuff. I thought it was really, really appropriate, specifically for this build, though, of course, I love family photos in any family home that I make. When I play for myself, like off camera or even for an LP, I try very hard to remember to take photos. I'm kind of struggling with it lately, but I try really hard to remember to take photos and fill frames because it makes a home feel so much more personalized. I just love it so much. And now I'm just adding the last few touches. I added another playmat and a toy chest, just so there are a few items, as well as some of those infant toys and the toddler blocks, because your infants can use them at certain points. I think with Growing Together, there's probably certain milestones that you have to meet, but they can use them. And then this is going to be the kids' room. Now I did use the new bunk beds because I have not used them yet. And I made the swatch of the comforter match the rug. And it's this little space theme. It's so cute to me. I just like it so much. And I thought that this green wallpaper, you can see it on one of the planets on the comforter. I thought it complemented it really well. So I did go with kind of this, I don't really know how to describe this wood tone, but we did have bookcases and a desk from the new pack that matched as well. It's almost kind of like it's like a burnt wood to me. Maybe that's not the best descriptor, but that's what I'm going with. It's a different wood tone. It's not just dark, but it also is very vibrant. And I thought it matched really nicely, or at least closely enough to that dresser that I used from Parenthood. So they've got a bookcase in here. They do have a dresser. They have a desk so they can do their homework. They've got the Bigfoot stuffy, which I used multiple times throughout this build because I love it so much. And they also have a toy chest. And then I think I give them a void critter station thing as well, which I thought was really nice. I don't get to use that very often, so I think I did use it here. They've got some like games stacked on top of their dresser and a lot of objects pertaining to science and space, because I was thinking that both of these kids love science and space, which I think might be kind of, I don't know if rare is the word, but to have, two kids, perhaps they're twins. I don't know. I didn't really think that they were necessarily twins, maybe just close in age, but that they both share the exact same interests and maybe they get along really well, which I feel like is quite unusual. But yeah, that's why essentially they decided on how they were going to decorate their room together, and they just agreed on it, and it was fantastic. And there was no argument. Everything was great. I also used that cardboard made little like decoration spaceship thing. I added the little, not the tooth fairy. Well, it's basically the tooth fairy, right? Yeah, the tooth fairy. I don't remember what it's called in the game now. They might just be the tooth fairy. I don't know. But I added that little certificate and more of those string lights. And then I very scarcely decorated this hallway. Just added another console table, a mirror, and I think a dresser as well. I stumbled over my words there. Yeah, that little kind of towel storage looking thing from Cats and Dogs. I kind of put it in that little dip there. I could have added another closet, but I already added a closet right next to that bedroom or the bathroom. So I didn't add another one. And now we're working on the back and side yards. Again, trying to pull the landscaping through, trying to figure out how I was going to do all of this and what it was going to look like. Before I worked on the yard, I did have my playtest sim build and fully upgrade the treehouse. Let me tell you, that was a pain. Do you all prefer if a treehouse is built when you download a lot, or would you prefer it to be left unfinished for your Sims to build? Let me know. I'm really hoping that you say unfinished. Really am, because it was a pain. If there's a way to cheat that, let me know. But my Sim had to work on it for almost a full Sim day to completely build it, completely upgrade it as well, stuff like that. It just took a long time. I wasn't a huge fan, but at the same time, I was glad that I kind of went through that and then had the finished treehouse here, just because I think it made the build look more complete. But again, let me know what you all prefer for gameplay, because, you know, a huge part of the gameplay as well is building the treehouse together, you know, with your adult Sims and your kiddos and your elders. So it could be something that some of you all want to experience when you download a build still. So definitely let me know. But this is going to be the section of the backyard that is bricked up, I guess. It's got brick, not just grass. I made it an outdoor dining space, and I also gave this family a pool. This yard needed it. It was so freaking big. And you can see that I didn't even put anything to the right side yard or backyard. I just put that big tree, and that was about it, because I was running out of ideas for activities out here, and I wasn't going to make an additional like playground. I didn't want to build a greenhouse because I just didn't think it really fit the build. So I was just running out of ideas. But I did add a chess table here on the back porch, as well as a little seating area. And I think I added another flower arranging station. So there actually might be 2 in this build. So my apologies. I didn't realize that I may have duplicated efforts there, but it's kind of nice to have one outside too, not just in the garage. I also added these potted plants to the back door as well as the front door as well, because I didn't decorate the front porch at all until nearing the end here. I also added those stacked gardening pots, which you can of course grab and place in other parts of the build if you would like. But this is the very tiny seating area I was talking about. I just added 2 of these armchairs and a little side table with a candle. I also added some welcome mats or entryway mats, I guess, whatever you'd like to call them. And then I did extend this bricked area a little tiny bit, and I added a gate because I wanted to separate the pool area from just like the outside dining area, because we can baby-proof things now, you would probably want to have a baby-proofed area when you have a pool. You see, I was trying to think about things. So that would be a great baby-proofing opportunity, because I believe you can do that to any door, gate, anything like that. I also added a few lounge chairs out here. I ended up scaling back to 2 of them because they just fit a little bit better. We've got the pool, of course. We have a few floaties, and we also have it's not really a diving board, a diving pedestal. I don't really know what it's called, but yeah, I added that as well. We've got a swing set underneath the big giant tree. We've got the treehouse, of course. I add a sandbox. I add a telescope to the treehouse as well. I put a card table, or a games table, I suppose, out on the side porch. And I remembered to put the basketball hoop above the garage, because that is quintessential, like, I don't know, American suburban. It really is. But I added the cards table as well, because I think you'd be able to change the game to symbols as well, or even build a puzzle there. I'm not quite sure. I think you can do that. So I thought that was nice. And then I pulled out that toddler slide, because that is where I end up putting the sandbox. I added another bike and a cooler out here. And then I think I added the toddler pool, the sprinkler from Seasons, a few more gardening pots. There's the grill over near where the outside dining is. And then what the heck else did I put out here? Oh, I added the monkey bars as well, which is something I never get to use because it's just a big item, and usually I choose between a swing set and monkey bars, and I will choose a swing set any day. I really will. Swing set always wins out for me, but since I had the space, I figured adding some sand near like the bottom of the treehouse and then adding the monkey bars there would be kind of nice. And I even remembered all of those little, what are they called? The little grass details from the debug menu in Cottage Living, because I wanted to give the grass some dimension, considering I did use this brick pathway, and I landscaped the whole build. So I thought, you know what, it would be a nice detail, especially around the bottom of the treehouse, just to add a little bit more depth to the yard itself, because it was feeling very flat to me. I don't know if it did to you, but it definitely felt flat to me. And then I just carried the landscaping through the rest of this, and that's pretty much it for the build. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Sometimes we act like a fool, not aware we're troublemakers. Sometimes we try to be cool, not being good.